Open your books to page 357. We are going to finish lesson 24.1 today, talking about all of the terminology, and we're going to use the same note sheet from before. So the degree of a polynomial is the greatest degree of any term in the polynomial. And remember, the degree is the exponent on a variable. So if we're looking at question 12, we have a table here, and we need to identify the degree and the constant term of each polynomial listed. Okay, so if I'm looking at this first row, 2x squared plus 3x plus 7, the degree of this polynomial is 2 because that is the largest or the highest or the biggest exponent. Okay? Now remember, the constant term is a number by itself, a number without a variable. So the constant term here is 7. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to fill in the 3 missing boxes. So my degree for the second one is 3. That's the largest exponent, the greatest degree. The constant term is -3. Make sure you're including the sign. My degree is 2. And then they already filled in the constant term for us, which is 36. So let's add this on the back of our note sheet where it says degree of a polynomial. And the definition is the greatest degree of any term in the polynomial, or the greatest exponent of a term in the polynomial. So use whatever word works best for you. You can use the word degree, you can use the word exponent. And I want you to try to fill in the 3 examples listed for you. So the biggest exponent is 2, greatest exponent is 3, and 4. So we're looking for the largest exponent, greatest degree. All right, let's talk about standard form in your book. Standard form is when a polynomial is written in descending order of degree. Okay, so what that means is my exponents are listed in descending order. So if you look at the math term box in your book, descending order of degree means that the term with the highest degree, also called exponent, is written first. Then the next highest exponent or degree. and then the next highest, and so on and so forth. And what comes at the end is my constant term. Okay, so if we're looking at the example that they give us here, 5 is my highest or my biggest degree, the largest exponent, and we call that the degree of the polynomial. Then notice 2 is smaller than 5, that comes next, and at the end is my constant term, which is 3, or negative 3. All 3 of these are called terms. And then my leading coefficient is the number that comes out in front with the highest degree. So my leading coefficient here is 7. Okay, so let's add this to our note sheet. Standard form of a polynomial is a polynomial whose terms are written in descending order of degree. And if you don't remember what the word degree is, you could write exponent. Descending order of the exponents. So if we're looking at the example, this currently is in standard form because 4 is my biggest exponent or degree, and then 2, and then my constant term. So let's label here what our constant term is. So negative 6 is called my constant term. What is the degree of our polynomial here? What's the largest exponent? That would be 4. This is called a term. So 3x to the 4th power is a term. 5x squared is also a term. The book also talked about the leading coefficient. So the leading coefficient is the coefficient of a polynomial's leading term when it's in standard form. So if I look at the example, my leading coefficient, the one out in front, is 3 because this is in standard form and it's at the beginning and it's with the term with the highest exponent or the largest degree. So here's what I want. Underneath this, I'm going to give you a polynomial that is not in standard form. And I want you to rearrange these terms. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. I want you to rearrange them so that they're in standard form. Remember, largest to smallest. So the largest exponent here is 3, or cubed, so it's going to be 5x cubed. The next one is the 2, so plus 7x squared. Then this has a 1, so that comes next. So plus 4x. And then I have minus 1. So this is in standard form. What is my leading coefficient here? The leading coefficient is 5. What is the degree of the polynomial? The degree is 3, because that's the largest degree or the highest exponent of a single term. And what is my constant term here? My constant term is -1. How many terms do we have total? We have 4. So standard form is the highest to the lowest, or the biggest to the smallest. And then remember, on the front of our note sheet, we wrote that the constant term is always at the end in standard form, because it doesn't have a variable with it. It doesn't have a degree on an exponent. Okay. A polynomial can be classified by the number of terms it has when it is in simplest form. So if I'm looking at this table, okay, we can use a little bit of English here. And remember that these are called prefixes. And they kind of help us to determine the number of terms or what the name is going to be. So mono is 1. Okay. Think of bicycle. Bi is 2. Tricycle or triangle, so tri is 3. And then poly is anything greater than that. Okay, so a polygon has many sides. So we are going to fill this into our note sheet, but a monomial has 1 term, and they give us 3 examples: 8, or -2x, or 3x squared. Binomial is 2 terms, trinomial is 3 terms, and then this is 4 or more is another way to think of it. And so this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terms. So on the front side of our note sheet, let's fill in these. Number of terms is 1. So I could have 4x squared. This is a single term. It's called a monomial. Or we could have -5y or 7. These are all terms or monomials. Binomial is 2. So I could have something like z minus 3 or 2w squared minus 6w. Trinomial is 3. So x squared plus 11x plus 10. And notice my variables always match. So if I have w's, or if I have x's, or if I have y's, they're all the same. Polynomial is anything 4 or more. 4, 5, 7, 11, etc. So let's do 9y to the 4th power plus 2y cubed minus y squared plus 5y minus 4. So that has 5 terms. On page 358, I want you to find question 13, and this is a big table, and you're going to fill in all the missing information. Now, you could work column by column and do all the number of terms, then all the names, leading coefficients, or you could work by row. So I'm going to do the first row for you, so you make sure you're on the right track, and then you fill in this table however you would like. Whatever works best for you. So if I'm looking at the first polynomial, I have 3x squared minus 5x. Count the number of terms, 1, 2. And I'm going to run out of room to write the name, so I'm just going to abbreviate. This is a binomial. Remember, my leading coefficient is the number out in front. So that would be 3. My constant term is the number by itself. I don't have one, so you could write not applicable, or you could just write 0. And the degree of the polynomial is the largest degree, the largest exponent, and so in this case that would be 2. So I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to fill in all of these. Three terms, so I call it a try. Leading coefficient is -2 because it's already in standard form. Constant term is 6. Highest exponent, biggest exponent is 2. One term, so it's a monomial. Leading coefficient is 15. I don't have a constant term, not applicable. Largest degree is 2. So if you wanted to, this has 4 terms, 2 terms, 4 terms, 3 terms. You could fill it in that way. Call this a polynomial. Leading coefficient is 5, -7, 3. Two terms is a binomial. Leading coefficient, it's not there. So remember it's a 1. -25, 2. 4 terms is a polynomial. Leading coefficient, 0.23. Constant term at the end. Biggest exponent is 3. Three terms is a trinomial. Leading coefficient out in front, because it's in standard form, is -9.8. Constant term at the end, the number by itself, is 150. Largest degree, biggest exponent, is 2. Question 14. Is the following statement true or false? All polynomials are binomials. This statement is false. Polynomials do not always have only 2 terms. We could have 1 term, 3, 4, 5, etc. So this is false. But we could change it around. All binomials, everything with 2 terms, are considered polynomials. This would be a true statement. Okay, but all polynomials are not binomials, so that would be false. Question 15, describe your first step for writing this polynomial in standard form. So what do? Remember, we are finding the term with the largest or the biggest or the highest degree, and another word for degree is exponent on the variable. So we would take this and have to move it out in front. So that one would be negative 5x squared. That's the largest exponent, the highest degree. So that would be written first in standard form. What would come next? Then we would have a positive 3x and then a positive 7. Okay, just as a reminder, my leading coefficient here is negative 5. The degree of this entire polynomial is 2. The constant term here is 7. And how many terms does it have? 3 terms. So we call this a trinomial.